So I'm really pleased and honored to speak here about the intimacy, what I consider really intimacy between cloud computing and open source. So I'm chief architect for cloud computing. I'm working currently in Orange Business Services, so really the B2B part. So it's about making money, obviously, but also let's start with something good, something good that we do now. And we're in France, so it's the drink your own champagne. The idea first is, and it's quite new for us, is to use the same thing, to sell to our customers the same thing that we use internally in our own IT systems. This is really true for cloud computing as it's going very quickly. And also we've been also for years now drinking the real champagne benefits of open source in our own internal IT. So now in IT, things like Linux, Red Hat, MySQL, Jonas, and so on are really some mainstream in the IT. Let's go one step further about what is really at stake with cloud computing and the revolution about the IT market on top of that. The first question that always arises is, by the way, what is cloud computing? So first, there is the official standard way of defining it, this one. To be honest, I hate this definition. I hate it because it doesn't. It's a bit blurry, and it doesn't really give you the real value for the customer or for the end user. It's about, let's say, for me, it's a bit too technical. The idea about champagne, what's interesting in champagne is the taste, not the way you build it, or not the way you create it. So and I will give you my own definition, which is quite shared, but about cloud computing, the promise of cloud computing for the users. And it's really three things. It's self-service, it's elastic, and it's pay-as-you-go. The best metaphor I've found right now is the tap. So it's IT on tap. And the idea is you open the tap, it flows right away. Self-service. It's you decide when you want to open it. You open it more, it flows more. And by the way, there is also a meter on somewhere that counts how many liters you've consumed, and then you pay for that. You pay whatever the bundle, but you pay your payment is linked to what you are using. And this is a very simple way. So I give you this. It's a very simple criteria. Whenever, and we do that, whenever a provider comes and say, I have a cloud solution, just ask the three questions. Is it self-service? Yes, no. Is it elastic? Yes, no. And pay-as-you-go, same thing. If you don't have three yes and three big yes, then it's cloud washing. It's not real cloud computing. Now then, when we step one step backwards about what does it mean to build cloud computing services, and so as we are a cloud computing service provider, we have to ask ourselves about that. So yes, obviously there is a network, there is virtualization, and at the core, for me, at the core there is the multi-tenancy. The principal idea, if you want to be competitive in that market, is that to provision a new customer, it should be only configuration. It's not about installing anything for a new customer, but just reconfiguring the software to add a new customer. So for infrastructure as a service, this means virtualization. For software as a service, this means that you have to deeply build your solution from the ground up to be multi-tenant. Otherwise, you have big competitive problem. Let's talk about cloud computing. The same thing is, what is the promise for companies? And I would say not all clouds are made equal. And it's very important to understand also today the place of the open source in the cloud market. So on the bottom left, public cloud, like Amazon, GoGrid, take the one you want. Most of them rely on deeply rely on open source solution that has been often very much customized, and it's really a question of low cost and of getting the most, let's say, the most juice out of the servers. Things are changing, but it has been built this way at the beginning. On the upper right corner, it's more about private clouds. So By the way, is a private cloud a real cloud? If you take my criteria, well, self-service and pay-as-you-go could be for an organization, but elasticity is quite limited to your infrastructure. The thing is, for private cloud that we do help our customers to build their own private cloud, but we also create something which is we call virtual private cloud, which is a shared infrastructure, but with the same security and quality of service and network features that you find in private cloud. So let's say it's shared cloud, friendly for IT users or legacy IT users. The upper right corner is really the world of VMware today. VMware has, I think, 86% market share in companies for virtualization. And we also, in Orange, use a lot of VMware with something like 18,000 VMs running in production. And so this is really an area where VMware is very present. I would say it's not very cheap, by the way. And so we are seeing this kind of confrontation between the world of open source and the world of this let's call it high-end cloud computing. So we do, in Orange Business Services, we do this virtual private and private cloud. We don't do at all yet public cloud, or let's call it low-cost public cloud. We do have plans for that. I wish I could say more because it's still under the process of creating. So I can only tell you what has been leaked in the medias, saying that we have a project which is called Andromeda, about creating some public cloud, French public cloud, with some investment of the French state, investment from OBS and from other companies. And when I talk about, and it's big investment, by the way, for Orange, and what's been in the press, something like 60 million euros investment. So it's serious money. So we will also address this public, open source based, low cost cloud computing infrastructure. And so this is important in the strategy.